Got a bit of a different interview for you on the show today, one that I am actually incredibly excited for. Today we're going to learn about art and sport combined with a very prominent artist, originally from New Zealand, actually a world artist, I want to say, kind of very much roots in all different corners of the world. And he's combined his love of sport with art to great effect, so much so that it took him to the Olympics, to the Youth Olympics in 2020 at the Winter Games in Lausanne, where his love of sport, his love of art, won him the medal design, where he got to design the medals for those Olympics. And in doing so, also got to perform at the opening ceremony to celebrate his artistic work along the way. There's so many facets to this man that I'm so excited to learn about him today, and it's a pleasure to welcome off the podium Zakea Page. Zakea, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on board. So thank you.
I'm pumped to have you on board for many levels, Zakea, because I'm actually ashamed to admit that you're only the second ever Kiwi to be on this show. And I feel as an Australian, well, a co-Australian podcast with Canada, that as Commonwealth nations, we've seemingly ignored our neighbours to our right. So apologies for that.
What's happening?
I know, right?
Yeah, so.
Too much of this rivalry that apparently I'm ignoring it. But your story is just absolutely fascinating, and I'm going to get obviously to the medals and the Olympics and experiences back in 2020 very shortly. But I just want to start a little bit with yourself, Zakea. Give us a bit of a background on you, kind of this love of art, this connection with sport. Tell us a little bit about your journey through the art and sporting world.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it came from my background. So my mom and dad were international teachers, and so I grew up all over the world. So I grew up in Vietnam, Bangladesh, Kuwait, China, New Zealand, and just going through loads of different cultures and being immersed in loads of different cultures really inspired me artistically. So I got to try all sorts of different food, got to be around all sorts of different languages, and it sort of just evolved from there. Especially in Shanghai when I was a teenager, I got very much involved in the street art community. And again, just lots of people from all around the world, different cultures, just creating artwork. So I think my passion just evolved from a lot of my environment, a lot of people around me. But then also I had my sport. I would say my sport came first. So when I was in New Zealand, when I was 5, I think, I just started playing hockey. I think my mom and dad wanted me to do a sport and get some exercise. So they dragged me to play some hockey. I didn't like it initially, but I grew to love it. Grew to love field hockey. And then that passion evolved, and overseas I got some opportunities to play for the Vietnam national hockey team while I was there domestically. And I also got to play in Bangladesh in the Premier League there when I was 11.
Wow, 11.
Yeah, it was a privilege because obviously I was 11. I couldn't really compete.
Yeah.
But they compete for like a few minutes on the field. So it's just been hockey and art have just been immense parts of my life. And they've always been significant parts of my life. And I think as I started doing more art and still doing my hockey and having passions for both, they just kind of merged, and they kind of merged naturally. I was just, I think the first time I ever started painting with a hockey stick and a ball, where I got that idea from, was just when I was training, and I would just dribble the ball and pretend to do little doodles just in my imagination, just drawing just on the hockey pitch. And I was like, well, I need to get a ball and some ink and paint with a hockey stick if I'm just fooling around all the time. And from there, it evolved. And now it's evolved into a career. And I'm just really grateful that both sport and art have really helped me and build who I am. So It's been an awesome adventure and it's still going. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's for the ride.
Fantastic story. I mean, so many questions around that. I just want to touch on what's it like playing for the Vietnam national field hockey team? Because, I mean, I think of the nations of field hockey around the world. Vietnam's not sort of one of these ones that I often think about. I mean, that must have been a pretty spectacular experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, my goal, my dream as a child was to play hockey, and it was to play hockey at the Olympics. And it was my dream to play for the New Zealand national team. And so I think when you get the honor to compete on behalf of or wearing another country's flag, it's a huge privilege. It's a huge privilege because you're not from that place, you're not from that region. So the fact that you're representing it is a huge honor. I would be competing domestically for their team. They'd have the Southeast Asian Games, but I couldn't. I had to marry a Vietnamese girl if I wanted to play
Ah, right.
Southeast Asian. So that didn't happen. Um, but yeah, huge honor, huge honor.
There's
And
always a
it was
loophole, isn't there, to be able to go to these other ones, though, right? If you want
yeah,
to, couldn't
there's
just
always
fake
a
a marriage
loophole.
certificate or something to be like, "Hey, I did get married," or didn't quite buy into that.
Yeah, no, not when I was 12 at the time.
Ah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so but the other cool thing was, as you said, they were very low in the rankings, and so I was just playing for them and playing for their local team, the Vietnam Tornadoes, which is all the same players as the national team. But I was playing for them when they started to get an official like national team recognition, and they
right.
got an official world ranking of like 200 and something. And now they've gone up a little bit. I think they're not last anymore. But it's been really cool to be part of that. So yeah,
You
very
helped
excited.
them. You helped them get that, off the bottom essentially. There,
It
Zakea.
was all
So
me. It was all
yeah.
me. Just sort of more supporting on the side. So
Exactly. That's
yeah.
that's an absolute badge of honor. Did you get close, sort of, with the New Zealand side of things? Was that something that you were able to kind of progress? I mean, could we be talking to you in a different capacity had things gone slightly different as a New Zealand Olympian in hockey?
Oh, I would love to. That'd be incredible. So when I went back to Wellington, I trained and I also played in a local team, Harbour City in Wellington. So I took it very seriously for a while. And then I also had my sport and sorry, I had my arts and my studies and my film as well. And so I decided to go more into the art direction, deciding to go and put a lot of my efforts into performance art, into my hockey paintings. But saying that, I never was at the elite level. So I think it's an honor to have went to the Olympics and played hockey at the Olympics in the opening ceremony, and I got to be on the world stage in a different way. So even though I didn't make it as a hockey player as such, I'm glad that it came about in a unique way, I guess.
Still made the Olympic again. I'm sure there are many people that you played against who you might have thought were better than you, but I'm sure they didn't make the Olympics, Akira, and you did. So that's
Yeah, so I mean that's the thing is not everyone makes the Olympics. And sometimes it's because life is unfair. Injuries, unfortunate events, or I know when the Tokyo Olympics got delayed,
mm,
some people got injured, some people couldn't for various family reasons. Some of it's timing as well.
yeah.
So yeah, I think whenever you represent your country at the Olympics, it's a huge honor and huge privilege. So yeah, just happy that it happened. So
Well, we're going to get to that in just a moment, but you touch on that idea of when you're playing with the ball that this is kind of artistic, you're imagining it strokes. At what point did you actually go, no, I'm going to actually get some ink, I'm going to put this ball on it, and I'm going to try it? Like, do you remember that very first time you actually did get the ball with some ink and start doing some art that way?
yeah, I filmed it and I made a movie about it. So it's in my upcoming documentary, Ink and Gold: An Artist's Journey to Olympic Glory, which discusses my experience designing the medals and then performing at the opening ceremony. But yeah, my first time I actually did it was when I was 15, I think. Uh, and then it just progressed from there. So I developed the performance art while I was in uni. I represented New Zealand at the World Championships of Performing Arts, which is a performing arts event in LA. So I did the performance work there. And then also at the 27 Hockey World League final at the halftime show there in Auckland. So I've had different places where I've exhibited it, and it's just a progression, and hopefully we'll keep progressing it and perfecting it. So.
You mentioned the World Championship Performing Arts. I was going to ask you about that because I believe you won a couple of medals there, and I didn't even realize this was a thing that they had a World Championship of Performing Arts.
I had no idea either
Yeah.
until I did it. So
Tell us about it. Like, what was that experience like when you get to go represent New Zealand in arts on an international stage like that?
yeah, it's very cool. It's again, as I said, whenever you represent your country, it's a huge privilege. So it was very cool. And I think in a way, it was almost a good training ground for performing at the Youth Olympics in Lausanne, because you have the same challenges and that just the logistics of things. Like I had to go and figure out where I'm going to buy massive sheets of paper and art in LA because I couldn't bring a lot of it with me. Just working out like a stage and where am I going to perform on the stage. So just dealing with these logistics, travel logistics, it was kind of like a good testing ground. I didn't know that 2 years later I'd be performing at the Youth Olympics. So looking back at it, I think that was very cool. And it was cool to be in a new city. I'd never been to America before. It was my first time in America. So yeah, just being there was very cool.
And is it like a performing arts category? So if you're out there performing with like
Yeah.
a ball and there are other people doing it with other different performances,
Sorry,
I guess?
I didn't explain much about what it was. So it's they have different categories. They got singing, they got dancing. I was in a variety category,
Right.
so I was up against people that were doing like things that weren't in other categories. So I was up against a juggler. I
Wow.
was certain dancers that didn't qualify in like the other dancing events. So I was up against a whole range of performances, which was it was very cool. And I was surprised because I was like I didn't expect to be up against like a juggler.
It's so diverse. Like, I mean, that's kind of like saying at the Olympics that, oh, these are all the sports. Like croquet, you can go up against squash and you can go up against, Australian football. Like, it seems like this is just the other category and it doesn't really seem like, I mean, how do you judge you against a juggler? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I have no idea how you would do it. But I guess the one way you would do it is just, or the way I judged it myself was the performance reaction from the audiences. Are the audiences engaged?
Hmm.
Is it moving? Did you feel something? But again, like I completely agree. It's very difficult. How do you judge one completely different thing to another? So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad I wasn't a judge.
Definitely. So 3 medals, is that correct that you won there?
Yeah, I got 3 medals in different categories. So like they did it on props. So they did it
Right.
on like above 3 props, lower than 3 props, and another one, no props. I'm not too sure. I can't remember to be honest. You caught me out on
Wow.
that. But yeah, so you win your category. So I got 3 silver medals. And I couldn't complain because the dancers that beat me were incredible. They deserved the goal. So I wasn't even mad. Uh, and then there's like a grand champion of the world, and then there's another one. So in some senses, it was almost like a semi-final. Yeah. So
Fascinating. We need to
yeah,
look into
yeah,
this more, Zakea. I didn't know this was a thing. This sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think this is something that maybe if they've got podcasting involved, maybe we can go to the World Championships of Art here or something like that. Who knows? But I mean, of course, if
They
you
got,
were,
they got an Australian team.
oh,
Yeah.
well, there you go. I'm in. basically. So this is something that maybe we can publicize more. If we were talking 100 years ago, Zakea, though, you'd be going to the Olympics because, as I'm sure you're aware, there used to be art competitions at the Olympics about 100 or so years ago. I mean, is this something now that you've seen a World Championships of Art? You've competed at a Youth Olympics in terms of the opening ceremony and everything. I mean, do you wish they'd bring it back, that we could be talking to you, that they'd bring art back at the Olympics?
I think it would be very cool, to be honest. I would love to see that. Art very much plays a role in the Olympics now, anyway. So, I mean, you have the opening ceremonies, you have all the arts and cultural events, and then you have the closing ceremonies, and then you have the design aspects of things. So, art and sport is very much integrated in the Olympics as is. But I would like to see it. I think that would be great. I think it would give even more opportunities for artists in the Olympics. Already, I think the Olympics does have lots of opportunities for artists. And there's been multiple instances of the Olympics being involved in various art projects throughout different games. And I mean, for my career, it's been amazing. It's they gave me so much. It's such a beautiful platform. So I would be interested in that happening for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it would be a great thing.
It's always one of those ones that pops up around an Olympics. It's sort of like, oh, did you know that they used to award gold medals for sculpture and architecture and all
Yeah.
those sort of things back in the day, which we'd love to see it again. But I mean, you journey through the Olympics. I mean, you ultimately get chosen for the design winning of the Lausanne Youth Olympic medals. But I also believe did you not also enter for Buenos Aires in 2018
Yeah.
as well? So, I mean, tell us a bit about sort of the process when it comes to entering these competitions and sort of what led you into, I guess, starting with Buenos Aires and then ultimately your winning design for Lausanne.
Well, I guess I'd start back further. For my first Youth Olympic Games was in Nanjing.
Right.
So when I was living in Shanghai, they had the Youth Olympic Games in Nanjing in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first Olympic experience I had. And I was overwhelmed. I thought it was beautiful just being part of it as a fan, seeing the athletes. I felt a huge amount of inspiration. And so that was the first time that I knew about the Youth Olympics and experienced the Youth Olympics. And from there, I followed the Youth Olympics on social media and found out that they had the design competition. I was naturally always interested in the design components of the Olympics. So I knew about that quite early on during the 2014 Nanjing Olympics. But I knew that there was a design competition coming up and I wanted to compete. So yeah, as you said, I competed first for the Buenos Aires competition and I didn't win. So yeah, came back 4 years later. And I knew that it was coming up, and I knew it was coming up for 4 years because it happens every 4 years. And so I think in the back of my mind, I was always thinking about it, or when I was walking in town, or I'd be like, oh, that's kind of an interesting like design component there. I kind of like that. So I was sort of picking up things for ages and ages. And then, I was busy with university and whatnot. And then I was like, oh, it's actually around the corner. I should start designing. And I think it took me about 3 months doing the design, actually focusing on doing it. And I did thousands and thousands of designs, like books and books and books. Most of them not very good. In fact, really not good, but that's part of the design process. And I had two designs I was figuring out, and then there was one design I was like, no, that's definitely it. I had a friend, Ryan Ardern, and he did the 2D render of it because I'm not very good at Photoshop myself. So I told him that if we win, I can't pay you. I got no money. I'm starting, but if I win, I'll give you the bronze medal, and then you can go to the games as well. Because
Great.
part of the competition was you win a Samsung tablet, You get to go to the games, you get to watch the opening ceremony, and you get the three medals. So I said, I can give you that. So, which he did, and he came over. So,
Not a bad
yeah.
way to get an Olympic bronze medal, you know?
Yeah. So, I think the bronze medal is my favorite actually because
Oh, there you go.
it just looks the best. It looks great in bronze.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I can
yeah.
imagine, as you're saying, going through that lead up process, getting struck for ideas. I mean, I can imagine as an artist that you're always constantly being hit with ideas, Zakea. But when it comes to narrowing it down, what was it about the one that you submitted that you say that you looked at it, that's the one, and tell us about what you actually showcased with that design that ultimately did win you that competition.
Well, when I was choosing between the two, and I actually don't talk about this in my documentary, but when I was choosing between the two, they weren't fully formed yet. So still developing one in particular, which was like, it's not quite right yet. And time was slipping, and I was like, no, I feel like this is potential. So let's just focus on this one. And then we did finalizing touches on it. So I don't know, maybe a gut feeling as well. Sometimes you just know things. So yeah.
Kind of, you have that feeling, and what was it? What the design that won? Tell us about sort of what you were trying to showcase with that, and kind of the story behind the design.
So the spiral on the design, it's a big spiral, and a spiral of five continents or five spirals that represent each continent of the world. So it's about everyone from all over the world coming together to celebrate excellence and to celebrate the Olympic values, the Youth Olympic values, which is friendship, excellence, and respect. And it was inspired by Maya Angelou, which is an American poet. And she said that in diversity, there is beauty. And so hence the title, Beauty and Diversity. So yeah, it's just, I was thinking about also, what would represent an athlete's journey, and trying to figure out what would embody that. So I hope I did a good job. I'm very proud of it. So, and it was a huge honor to be part of it. Just incredible. So
When you mentioned that, say the bronze is your favorite because it looks good on bronze, when you're coming up with the design, do you have to sort of envision your design on each of the colors? So like, do you have to say, put it on a gold template, a silver, bronze? Because I'm sure certain pieces might have looked fantastic on gold, but then you're looking on silver and go, oh, that shit, like I'm going to have to try something a little bit different here.
yeah, well, I think that it's the color. So I mean, the color plays a big part in it for sure.
Hmm.
But why I said the bronze was the best is because I think the contrast, the design pops out most on the bronze. But you have to make sure that it works on all three. So you're right. So we did look at like what it would look like on different ones, but mainly I was working on the gold medal, so it was mainly gold. And it should look great. Like a design should look great on all three. Like it should look good on gold. If it's going to look great on gold, it should look good on silver, and it should look good on bronze.
Good way of
So
looking at it. I like
yeah.
that. I like that. What then is the process of you being told that you've won? Is there like a phone call, an email, or is it still judged? Like, oh, you're in the final three, we'll come back to you. Like, kind of what happens when you sort of know you're in the running to win this competition?
You don't know you're in the running at all. Like you don't get a short list, or you just find out that you win.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think you get if you're shortlisted, I think you get a notification. But I didn't. So what happened was I was just in the gym, just doing bench, and then I got an Instagram message. It was from the Youth Olympic Games, and they said like, "Oh, we have some exciting news for you." And I
Wow.
was like, "I'm not getting ahead of myself yet. Like, am I on my list? Like, what's happening?" And then so they said, check your email. I had a look at my email, and the email said that I won. And then I read it like 50 times. Much of an exaggeration, by the way. I read it again and again and again. I was like, this definitely says I won. There's no way it doesn't say it. It doesn't say I'm shortlisted or top three. Like it says I won for sure. And so after reading it for like ages, it kind of sunk in. And I called my family, told my family, and did what I can only describe as like a one-man dance party that night. So.
And then cleared up your schedule in February because you're going to Switzerland essentially. So
Yeah, pretty much, and then straight to working on the performance.
wow. Which I was going to
Yeah,
ask,
so,
was that offered to you immediately, or did you sort of go like, well, now that you've given me the medals, how about I
yeah,
give you an idea? Like, how did you get to perform at the opening ceremony?
yeah. So I knew that if I were to design and win, then I'd be able to talk to the right people.
Yeah, the
They
connection.
have
Thomas is on the phone then. G'day, Thomas. How you doing?
yeah. So uh, yeah. So when I guess in the last few days, thinking about you know, if I'm going to win or not, I did kind of have it in the back of my mind because my dream was to perform at the opening ceremony of the Olympics. And as I said before, my childhood dream was to play hockey. When I transitioned more into art, my focus was then, okay, like the Olympics is still the dream. I want to perform at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. So that was one of my dreams before during the design competition. So I always had that in the back of my mind. And then I won the medal design competition, which is just insane and a dream come true in itself because it's just a huge honor to be a part of that, to be a small part of the medal ceremonies where the athlete gets medals. Just a huge, huge honor. Um, but yeah, um, then what happened was I had lots of interviews, so TV interviews, had interviews with the Olympics, and talked about the medal. And by the way, like my dream is to perform at the opening ceremony of the Olympics. By the way, and they gave me they messaged me on Instagram and they said, hey, like. We know about your performance art. Do you want to do a little social media video about your art video? Like your artwork. Just like this is my shot. I'm gonna do an amazing, amazing job of this. Spent quite a bit of money in it, and made this kind of film, this sort of pitch to perform at the games. And it was a little trailer of the opening ceremony as well. It was a performance painting of the mascot, Yodley, of the
We
games.
love mascots on this show, Zakea. That makes me happy. We were all about the Olympic mascots on this show.
Awesome, amazing, good to hear. So I did a painting performance of Yodley, and I had my team from my film school. We made a movie about it, had a color grader on it, had lighting, had done it all professionally, and sent it off to them. And they're like, whoa, like, we weren't expecting this. And then I think like a few weeks later, they got me in touch with the organizing team for the opening ceremony, and then we
Wow.
did it.
And then it all
So
went from there. That what an incredible
yeah,
story. Like it's persistence. You show off. You ask a few questions, and there you go. I mean,
yeah,
that must have been then an incredible experience to be out there. Like, what was that moment like when, after all of that, you're out there on that stage in Lausanne in front of thousands of people in the stands, millions of people watching at home. You're at the Olympics, Zakea. You're performing for the world.
it's one of those moments which is so special and a moment that I will just cherish for the rest of my life. I think life is made up of a few moments that are incredibly special. And yeah, like you said, I was persistent. I worked very hard. I worked my whole life for it. But then, it's a huge honor. I mean, maybe if someone, when they're talking about my performance, maybe the wrong or the right person like walked out the room, or someone else said no, or things are out of your hand. And same with the medal design. You could actually see the different medals on the list that we're competing against, and they were great designs. And mine couldn't have got chosen, and I wouldn't have been able to perform either. So it's just all these things is you work very hard, but then there's luck as well. So it's a huge honor. Um, yeah, it was special. I felt like for one moment in time you were immortal, if
Wow.
that makes any sense. Like there
I
was
completely
moment in
understand.
time,
Yeah.
one moment in time where you're like, no one can say that you weren't alive, like right there.
What a
Or
great
like
way of explaining it.
you weren't living your dream. Like no one can say that you weren't living your
It's
dream.
giving me goosebumps the way you say that, Zeke, because I think anybody can relate to that, because I think whether you're an athlete, an artist, stay-at-home mum, working in an office, like we've all got things in our life that we set to achieve. And I
Yeah,
think we've all experienced moments like that, haven't we? Where at one point in time you feel immortal, and that is just a perfect way of summarizing a moment like that.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I made it, I guess, humbly too as well, because
Yeah,
immortal. I'm gonna live forever. But like the sense of being and the sense that no one can take that away from you, that you were there, you performed, you were a part of the games, you were there, and no one can take that away from you.
yeah.
So yes, in that sense, yes.
And the thing that I love about that passion and what you're describing, Zakea, is particularly around the Olympic movement, is that I think we're all, if we love the Olympics, as you've said, we all dream of making the Olympics, representing our country on the biggest stage, but majority of us aren't amazing athletes. More people don't make the Olympics than ultimately make the Olympics, but there are other ways in which you can represent your country in the Olympics. For you, being able to do it through your artwork, going on that world stage. There are some people who are doctors who become team doctors and they're representing their
Yeah,
country as a doctor. Like people, I think, the Olympics are so diverse and there are so many cogs in the machine of putting it together that I know people
absolutely.
who, I've met volunteers through Olympics who that was their peak. I've met people who have carried the torch in an Olympics, and that was like, things like that where I think you can get your passion for an event like the Olympics, can't you, to really show it off to the world?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think the Olympics is about the pinnacle of humanity, in a way. Uh, Coming together, that's beautiful. The
Yeah.
fact that, we haven't blown each other up yet. Like we're all coming together and to an Olympic Games to celebrate excellence in humanity, excellence in art, excellence in sport. It's a celebration. So why shouldn't everyone be a part of it? Why shouldn't everyone be involved?
Yeah.
Um, so I completely agree with you for sure.
Of all the honors that you get from winning the competition, obviously you perform in the opening ceremony, you get your own set of medals, free trip to Switzerland. Let's be honest, Zakea, the number one honor was getting to meet Thomas Bach, Olympic champion fencing. I've seen the video of it, and I have to say, I love the moment when you meet him, and not only do you go to shake his hand, you go for the hug. You're straight into it. You're like, Thomas, come here, old friend, old buddy. He's into it too.
Man,
He's hugging you
yeah.
back like he's loving everything. Tell us about meeting Thomas. He's just, we love him on this show, so we want to hear the experience of getting to hug Thomas Bach as well.
It was so cool. It was so cool. He's such a nice guy. He was very busy, obviously, during the Olympics. But yeah, we talked for about 10 minutes. We spoke.
Sorry to
And he's
interrupt,
like,
Zakea. Let's be honest. He talked for about 9.5 of those. You got about 2 words in. Let's be honest. We know how he likes to go on, but that's okay.
oh, he gave me some time to speak.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he's lovely. And he even said like, just let me know if you need anything. I was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it was great seeing him. And it was great being in the Olympic House, the Olympic headquarters. And yeah, it was a huge honor to meet him. I think he's a great guy. I think he does a lot for the Olympics and the Olympic movement. And yeah, I think he's doing an incredible job. So yeah,
Actually, good point you make there. Obviously, being in Lausanne, that's the home of the Olympics, right? So,
yeah,
was that an extra special feeling? And when I say home of the Olympics, the current Olympics, obviously, I know Greece is the home of the Olympics before I get people messaging me and going me off at me. I meant the current home of the IOC. But was that sort of a bit of extra special feel to it being in Lausanne for an Olympics?
yeah, it is. It's known as the Olympic capital.
That's what I
the
meant,
term.
by the way. Historians, don't go off me for Greece. I know, I understand. Greece is the home of the Olympics. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's the term they use is the Olympic capital. It's kind of extra special, for sure. And Lausanne has a lot of Olympic history as well. So it was very special to do it there. And also Lausanne, that's where a lot of the headquarters are for all the sports around the world. So I went to the International Hockey Federation. They invited me to their headquarters as
Wow.
well. So I got to meet the head of the International Hockey Federation, and I got to go into the headquarters, and they gave me a painting, which was very cool.
Nice.
Uh,
Do you get to
it
talk to
was
them about changing their rules for Vietnamese hockey, that you don't have to marry a Vietnamese person, that you can play for them on the Southeast Asia? Like, change the rules. This is how good I am. Come on.
yeah. So I would talk to the head guy. He's lovely. And yeah, it's kind of the first thing on the agenda, really. So
There
yeah.
you go.
So
You get, again,
he
as you said
said
before,
he'll get
ask the
back to me.
question.
He said he'll get back to me.
Look,
So
again, ask a question. You might get that phone call tomorrow all of a sudden, like, hey, guess what? Rules changed.
I haven't heard from him if he's listening.
Check your
So
Instagram. That
yeah.
seems to be where they keep messaging you there, Zakea. That's where they keep doing it. This obviously the whole journey then into the film. So Incan Gold movie. So did this idea come about before the Olympics, during the Olympics? Like, sort of what gave you the idea then to turn this whole sort of experience into a movie?
So when I mean, the first thing was designing the medals, and then I was working on potentially performing at the Olympics. And then once it was official that I was going to be performing, then I was like, yeah, let's make a documentary, because I was actually studying film, not art. So I was studying creative media production at Massey in Wellington, which is one of the universities in New Zealand. And since I was studying film, I was like, yeah, let's make a documentary about it, because it's a unique story. And I think one of the challenging things about making a documentary is like, how much availability do you have to the person that you're making a documentary about? So it's like, it's me, like, it's cool. We can do as many retakes as we need. So yeah, I wanted to make a documentary, and I brought over a cinematographer to come with me to Switzerland. And the film it's a mix of the footage that we got in Switzerland, but also archival footage from my childhood, and then footage of me training, footage of me designing the medals. So yeah, it's about my experience and my journey. And I hope the inspiration that I got at the Olympics and the excitement that I had on the journey, I hope other people can see that. So
Fantastic. Yeah, it's obviously doing great guns. Received an Academy Award qualification for Best Documentary Short. Now, I love this stat about you, Zakea, that you are only the sixth person to have performed at an Olympic Games opening or closing ceremony and qualify for an Academy Award alongside Bryan Adams, John Legend, Sir Paul McCartney, Bjork, and Celine Dion. Now, that is a cool stat. I hope that is like prominent on your resume.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that is quite a cool stat. So, yeah, no,
It's kind of like the EGOT Club, like, like how there's this exclusive club for people who've won like an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. Like, you're one of only six, so I can just imagine that you, Brian, John, Sir Paul, Bjork, Celine are just hanging out one day, chilling. Hey, what are you? Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, just, qualified for an Oscar as well as performed at an Olympic ceremony. What about you? Like, I mean, that'd be a fun dinner party, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, we actually have a little group chat. It's just all six of us. So we
just
talk about
private things that you talk about.
little things. Yeah, I can't put too much details.
No, that's
to you,
fine.
so-
We understand. Very exclusive. Like very,
Okay.
That's fine. We try to get the exclusives on this show, essentially, with it. But is this a film that is readily available? So for our people who are listening or watching this, can people sort of find it online, or where can people sort of watch it?
Yeah, so at the moment it just finished its film festival run. So it was in 80 something film festivals
Wow.
and like 72 awards or something around the world, which is absolutely insane.
You're so
So
sick of dealing with all the VIPs, Zakea. You're just used to this now. You're on the circuit.
a lot, it's a lot to deal with for sure. So yeah, hard to stay
Wow.
humble.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Uh, but no, to be honest though, it's been an incredible journey making the film. So I'll just finish your question first about where you can find it. We're looking for distributors at the moment. So we're talking to a few different distributors. But if you go on our site, inkandgold.com, you can find about where you can uh, hear about it. Sorry, find more information on it or where it might be distributed. That's where we'll share if we have any news on distribution.
But
And I
that's
think
always
we,
a fun process, isn't it? I know speaking to a lot of filmmakers over the years that's a challenging. I mean, that's a whole interview in itself, isn't it, Zakea, having to find a distributor for a movie.
yeah, yeah, it is. So I'm working with a producer, Kian Miller, and he's the one that's been helping me with the documentary. And so the documentary, like I did it, I was working on it by myself for about 2 years. So after the Olympic Games, it was just me editing it. I had a full-time job and then editing it by myself. And then I met Kian Miller, who we met on the set of Avatar, and
Hey,
started
can
talking.
I pause you for 1 second there? You met
Yeah,
on the set of Avatar.
yeah,
You're on the
yeah.
set
So
of Avatar. There's a question I've got to ask. What are you doing on the set of Avatar there, Zakea? There's a question.
I'm trying to tell the story, but
Right, I've got to interrupt. Sorry, I'm so curious. I didn't know if you were going to circle back to it. Sorry, I'll shut up. Go, keep going.
uh, no. So I was an extra
Right. Okay.
on Avatar 2, and so I met him there. And that was a cool experience watching one of my favorite directors, James Cameron,
You know
direct.
everybody. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, we go way back, but that's a different WhatsApp. That's a different WhatsApp.
Different one. Different. Celine doesn't get involved in that one. Yeah. So
No,
yeah.
no, we
Yeah.
keep it
Yeah.
separate. Um, no, he didn't direct me. But like he was there on set, and I got to watch him direct, and his attention to detail is insane.
Wow.
Um, like he would look at something and be like, nah, like there's too many people there, it's not quite right, and like move this around or switch this around. Yeah, immense detail. So yeah, he's an amazing guy. I love James Cameron.
The thing that I admire about you though is that you take these opportunities, right? You're winning
Yeah,
medal competitions. Oh well, maybe I'll ask a question if I can perform at the opening ceremony. I'm on the set of Avatar 2. I've met a producer. Oh, maybe he can help distribute my movie. Like, I mean, this is what you got to do, right? You got to see that opportunity and grab it when you can.
well, I think opportunity is when luck meets preparation. Sorry, when opportunity meets preparation. You have an opportunity, and if you prepare for it, I think that's when things happen. So yeah, that's what I believe.
Love it.
Um, yeah, so I didn't know he was a producer at the time. I just spoke to him, and I was just showing everyone this trailer I made for the Olympics. I was very excited, and then we started to talk, and he started giving me a little bits of advice here, a little bits of advice there, and then eventually he's like, "This is shaping up to a place where I'd be keen to be on board." And so he very much mentored me throughout, and it was very tough making my first film, such a learning curve. It wouldn't be where it is. It wouldn't be Oscar qualified without him. So he was the editor, and I think we've won quite a few editing awards. The editing is fantastic. But going back to your question about the struggles of producing things, yeah, so he's taught me a lot about production and producing, and I didn't know about film festivals. I didn't know about distributing to different distributors. I didn't know about how any of it works. So I guess that's the other component is, you work hard, you have your opportunities, but then you also have people that are keen to help you out and keen to mentor you. So I'm really thankful that, he sort of took me under his wing as such.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've got the stories that come out of it. The one final question I've got to ask, we're on the topic of Avatar 2. Did you make the final cut? Do you see you in the final film?
I think I can point myself out and be like, that was me.
Okay.
I was on like I was wearing a helmet. I was one of the bad guys.
Okay.
So I think I'm like the only person that would be like, that's me.
That's all
So
that matters, right there. As long as you know
yeah,
where you are,
I
you
think
know.
so. I'm like that. I'm pretty sure that's where we shot the scene, and I'm walking off here. So I think I made the cut briefly.
Does that mean you
So
get a credit on IMDb? Are you listed as like, Soldier 72 on Avatar 2?
oh no, I don't have a credit on IMDb, but I think I might be able to say I'm an extra on. I don't think I can actually. I think you
Ah,
have to be like supporting before you have a
right.
credit. But I'm not
Damn.
credited.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
We'll work on
Um,
that. You know people. You know
yeah.
Celine. You know
Yeah.
Brian. You know Sir
Yeah.
Paul. You know a Beatle. So,
I'll let them know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Zakea, for people if they want to get more into you, obviously you touched on the link for the movie, but if people listening, watching want to follow everything else you've got going on, tag your socials, your website, where can people find more about you?
Yeah. So you can see the documentary inkandgold.com if you want to learn more about that. Art of Zakea Page is my website. That's Zakea. And also my Instagram is Art of Zakea Page as well. Yeah, so just one more thing about my documentary before we wrap it up.
Please do.
Just one more thing. It's also, I guess the other thing about documentary was it's about the power of art and sport, and about how both of them are like culturally beneficial. So I guess that's the other thing about the film is just the power of both sport and art, and how they both can contribute to society. So I guess that's my last little thought there.
You've got to add it out there. And I think all your thoughts and everything you've been saying, mate, have been so inspirational and great. And we definitely appreciate your time on the show and wish you best of luck with everything else with the journey. And I'm saying right now, if we can have any sway on this program in the next 8 years in the lead up to Brisbane 2032, maybe you connect me with Thomas, or I get involved with John Coates or somebody like that. We put on the agenda art returns for the Olympics so that we can have you on this program in 10 years' time, not only as a multiple world art championship medalist, but as a multiple Olympic medalist in the other category. So you'll beat that dance group. You'll beat the jugglers again.
We'll do
Olympic
We'll
medals. How does that sound?
You do it. I'll hit up Thomas.
Yep.
You hit up your contacts, the Australian Olympic Committee. I'll hit up Celine Dion. She'll
She
say,
knows.
"Look,
She knows lots of people.
we'll make it happen." Brisbane.
Perfect. Awesome. Zakea, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much. And just one more thing, like thank you for your platform and thank you for what you do. As you said before about the Olympics and how there's so many components about it. People like you doing the show, supporting different athletes. Athletes, they have it difficult sometimes too. It's not easy being an Olympic athlete. And I think it's really cool that you interview all the athletes and so many different athletes. I watch your podcast before being on the show, and I just think it's so cool what you do. So keep it up and have a great time in Paris, man. I hope to see you there.